Welcome to People Incorporated Mental Health Services 2021 Artability Art Show Virtual Edition. My name is Erin, and I'm honored to introduce you to how we've taken Artability to a virtual stage this year, celebrating the voices of our artists and their artwork, writing, and music in a new way. Discover with me how art is a powerful force for self-expression, healing, and community mental health through the interviews with our Artability artists, staff, and community muralist and public artist, Greta McLean. We reflect on the events of the last year, from the COVID-19 pandemic to social injustice, and how art, thoughtful conversations, and coming together as a community can help us continue to heal, learn, and grow. Also, you will get the chance to enjoy a virtual showcase of our Artability artists' best work to date. Corilyn, our Artability programming coordinator, teaching artist, and art therapy intern, and our music therapist, Julianne, began by talking about how they've adapted and expanded our Artability programming to meet our community's diverse needs, from our public art show and our on-demand video workshops to our client programming. Artability plays a very integrated role in helping improve the mental health of our community by celebrating each individual's unique contributions.
Hi, my name is Corilyn. I've been a part of the Artability community since 2013. At that time, I started as a volunteer, and over the years, my role grew and evolved. Now, as an Artability staff, I've gotten to get to know so many amazing clients and artists by leading art groups and now art therapy groups with People Incorporated clients, supporting our community-based workshops, and being involved with the Artability Art Show each year. In 2019, we celebrated Artability's 25th anniversary. And then in 2020, due to the pandemic, we were not able to have our annual art show. The last year and a half has been hard. The pandemic has been painful and challenging for so many people in so many ways. The murder of George Floyd and the uprising for racial justice locally and across the country has forever impacted our community. Thinking about the collective grief and loss, trauma and isolation that we've been experiencing, I think now more than ever, creativity and art are so important to help us cope, express ourselves, and reconnect. Although the art show is different this year, I'm so glad that we're able to come together through a virtual format. I love looking at the virtual art showcase to see what our community has been creating. It's powerful to be able to connect in this way through art despite the challenges of the moment. During the pandemic, we have continued to innovate despite the limitations of COVID-19 and also in response to them. In the last year, we welcomed the addition of music therapy, which is so exciting, and we also created Artability On Demand, which is a platform on our website with videos that guide the viewer through a variety of art, music, and mindfulness experiences. I know many in our community have already begun utilizing Artability On Demand, but for those that want to learn more or give it a try, it's free on the Artability page of the People Incorporated website. Many people know about our community-based programming, including Artability workshops and the Artability Art Show, but there's also another whole integrated component of Artability that is comprised of art and art therapy groups and music therapy groups within People Incorporated programs for our clients. Integrating the use of art and art therapy into our client services is an important part of the wellness and holistic care of our clients. Art provides our clients with an expressive and often metaverbal way to communicate their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. They can create art about their lives, their mental health, or their recovery. In my groups, I offer a wide variety of media, interventions, and topics that we can explore together. This can include media like painting, drawing, printmaking, collage, sculpture, or writing. In each of my groups with clients, I often have some clients that love art and are so hungry to have the time and supplies to create. But I also often have clients that are hesitant or don't believe that they can make art, and so I aim to facilitate a safe space to allow them to rediscover a side of themselves that is creative, that either hasn't been supported or utilized in a while or possibly ever. Or maybe they just don't realize that there are lots of things that they do that are creative, like cooking, welding, decorating, wrapping, getting a tattoo, doing their makeup. We are all creative at heart. We all have our unique strengths, and I try to assist clients in tapping into those in practical ways that they can carry through outside of art group therapy and into their lives.
Hi, my name is Julianne, and I am a music therapist at People Incorporated. Music therapy is the clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions to address therapeutic goals by a board-certified music therapist. Some of the most common goals I help my clients work on are expressing and processing emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, developing healthy coping strategies, and increasing motivation for recovery through successful and supportive group experiences. I use a wide variety of music interventions such as active music making, songwriting, group singing, music and relaxation, and lyric analysis that clients can transfer to their lives outside of group as well. Since music itself is so personal, engaging, and versatile, music therapy is a great holistic and person-centered treatment that can uniquely address many different facets of mental health and wellness, even if you don't have any musical experience. One music therapy intervention I commonly use is lyric analysis. I give each client a copy of the lyrics to a specific song and ask them to circle any words or lines that stand out to them as I sing it.
I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's hard for me to breathe.
Then I'll facilitate a discussion based on their initial responses, the lines that they noticed, and additional questions that I've prepared. This allows us to begin exploring a topic from an outside perspective, discuss how certain themes may or may not apply to real life, and then share our experiences and thoughts in a safe setting. One of my favorite music therapy interventions to do is songwriting. Some people are a little intimidated when I introduce the concept of songwriting, but I always guide people through the whole process, and oftentimes it comes more easily than they expect. It's a very collaborative process, and I can structure the lyrics and other musical elements to address goals such as increasing emotional expression and teaching problem-solving skills or coping strategies. At the end, everyone has the tangible song that they created, we sing it together, and just get to share this validating and rewarding experience. So one example of a songwriting prompt that I like uses 12-bar blues, which has a very defined structure and tends to have expressive and straightforward lyrics. I'll ask the group to brainstorm different themes for the lyrics and ideas for how we want the music to sound. We'll talk about some of the obstacles we're facing, or goals we're working on, our thoughts about it, how we're dealing with it, and work out how we can phrase everything that we're feeling in a musically pleasing way. And that can sound something like this.
I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's hard for me to breathe. I'm staring at the wall and I'm losing sleep. Oh, today I'm feeling the blues, and better days are almost in view. I know it's gonna take some time, so we'll try to keep an open mind. Oh, today I'm feeling the blues, and better days are almost in view.
Our Artability show and workshops help adults living with barriers to mental wellness identify as artists and not feel defined by a diagnosis. Now in its 26th year, our show gives artists the ability to showcase their work in a very public way, sharing their talents with the world, and our workshops make it okay to try new things and explore new artistic mediums. And through the depth of emotions art creates, which define human experience, we can find common ground as a community and shatter mental health stigma, ultimately growing together. We sat down with some of our Artability artists to talk about their experiences creating art, reflecting how they can be therapeutic and a means for community healing.
I would describe myself as an assemblageist. I do Black art. All my art is Black-centered. I was looking for an artist community to be a part of, some place that had classes, diversity in the classes and diversity of the artists. And I found Artability by accident. I was just searching through some papers and found it. I thought, okay, it's associated with People Incorporated, so this is great too. So then I decided to just, start going to workshops. It's made me more mindful. I'm able to start a project, stay in the moment with that project, and actually see it through to completion, which is something I'd had a problem with before. I'd get started on lots of various projects and not finish them all the way through. What I liked about Artability is you could go for your workshop, and at the end of the workshop, you'd come away with a completed piece. And I love that. I usually am known for my assemblage pieces, and I use vintage miniature Black dolls in them. I've been working with charcoal recently and pen and ink and markers, but I'm really known for my assemblage pieces and my statues. And I like my art to tell stories. I even called myself Tell Arts at one point, T-A-L-E Arts, because when I sold you a piece of artwork, I sold you a short story along with it. So my art always tells a story. I have been primarily a short story writer, fiction writer, creative nonfiction, but I went back to poetry, and it reminded me of the poetry I did in the late 60s, early 70s, the protest poetry. So that's what I did. I wrote poetry a lot. I finished 2 manuscripts, and they were both talking about what was going on in the country at this time, during this time. So I was really proud of that work, and that work I've been submitting to various competitions and to various publishers to see where I can take that, because I haven't done poetry in years. It's been years, but when all of this social unrest started, that's when I went back to poetry. I figured that was the contribution I could make. And then I started doing things with wood. I started working in harder substances. So I made wood statues, small wood statues in the shape of, I did sundials, I did people, just anything that was wood that was solid. My portrait titled Contemplation was my first charcoal drawing. It was modeled after a piece of artwork that we were given in the workshop, and I just thought some of it should be missing. Some of her face should be missing. What she was contemplating and what I wanted you to contemplate looking at her. And so I left those pieces out so you could look at it and bring yourself into the story of who she is. If I was going to give anybody any advice on what to do about being an artist, I would say follow your passion. The thing that gets you up in the morning and the thing that you would do even if you never got paid for it, that's what you should be doing. When I started out, I said I would write whether anybody ever paid me for it or not. I want to be published. Of course, all writers want to be published and all artists want to be seen. But I got up, there were years when that wasn't happening and I was still creating. So you have to follow your passion and just follow it where it leads, even down to what medium you work with, what your subject matter is. Just follow what's in your heart and what's in your soul and what's in your spirit, and just go for it. It'll come.
I have been involved with Artability for 5 years. The thing I've enjoyed most about it is seeing all the other people who share common problems that I have, and meeting with them and getting to see all the artwork that everybody makes. And it's helped me because I think it's strengthened my identity, being that I went back to school and I'm actually an art major. It shows that, you know, it gives me something to work on and keeps me out of trouble, I guess. So for me, it's expressive of feeling and just motion, and it gets me out of my head, which is good. I had a photography class, and we were pretty open to what we could do. It was an online class, and as far as, you know, subject matter, and I thought it was important to do something with the George Floyd memorial. So going down there, taking it all in, seeing all the work that people did and all the love and yet sadness, and it really overtook me. And I looked at those pictures and I thought, it stands for the pain of so many people. The one painting I did, I call it Acid Rain. It's an oil painting, but it looks like watercolor. And I don't think I was smart enough back then to know what I was doing, but I've always been very proud of it, and people, I don't know, I've held on to it and not tried to sell it just because it was kind of the first thing I ever did. And the other painting, I believe, that's also oil painting. It's kind of a pseudo landscape, but it's not realistic in any way, but I don't know, it's almost tribal, but then it's also really oversimplified, almost childish. God, this was probably about 20 years ago. It was two of my cousins, my brother and myself, took a trip up to the Boundary Waters. I got a picture of my brother took of me. I'm actually standing in long underwear, long johns, and I'm watching my cousins come over a little waterfall, kind of a beaver dam looking thing, and I think it shows my style. This is one that I'm very proud of, and it was a lot of fun to do too. I'd like to make some kind of career out of it. You know, I do commissions, I sell art through Artability. There's a couple art sales a year there, and of course family members, friends are supportive, and it's a fun part-time job right now, and I'm hoping that it'll turn into more.
Hi, I'm Kris. I've been involved with Artability since late 2017. I was going through cancer treatments at the time, and I wanted to go beyond what they were offering in art therapy, and someone suggested Artability. So I attended a watercolor class with Mike in St. Paul, and I went twice a week, and as I was there, all of the fear and anxiety and stress and depression just left for those 2 or 3 hours we were together, out onto the paper. It's been a rough pandemic, and I have been using art as an escape. You aren't thinking about anything else, no bills, no worries, no problems. It all slips away so you can escape. And it also, if you're in a bad mood, it gives you joy and lifts your mood, even though sometimes it's a little frustrating because it doesn't come out exactly like you want. But I figure each painting is just a practice. And if it turns out great, if you sell it, even better.
And I just figured learning every single day, just keep learning, and eventually something might come out okay. I make a lot of these guys in coffee cups. I call them the coffee cup guys. And this one I did in Artability, in acrylic, and I made a print of it, and then I glued it to this cigar box and then laid a layer of protection over it. This one is of a mermaid. I did a lot of texture on here using different acrylic mediums and used kind of a crackle paint for the scales on her tail and kind of gave her a ghostly look a little bit. This brings me a lot of joy. And this is called Fish People of the Up North. And it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek about growing up camping with my family. And we didn't wear suits or dresses at all. We just wore sweatpants. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek fishing and camping. One of the things that I do for fun that I've done for years and years is knit. I mostly do these during TV, so a lot of times during the winter months I'll do these. And I think I did probably 50 pairs during the pandemic. This is a bird that I did during Artability. It's watercolor as well as magazines. Each feather is individually cut out, and then I went with a Sharpie around the edge because I didn't like the white. So each of them are edged in black. And it took many, many hours to glue these feathers down. I'd say this probably took me a month to do. Being an artist, other than being a mom, that's my calling. I feel like I'm flying when I'm painting or doing art. I feel so freeing. I automatically become happier, and I feel like I'm home when I'm behind the easel, and Artability helped me get there.
I've been involved with Artability for 3 years. I really like how I can learn about different mediums, and each class has like a different focus, so it's just fun to explore different ways to do art. I really like using pastels because they're really easy to blend and the colors are really vibrant. But I also like watercolor because it's challenging, so it gives me something to get better at. It's also really pretty. And I also like charcoal. I didn't do very much art during the pandemic because I just didn't feel very motivated. But I did do a few pieces, and one of the pieces I did was a charcoal drawing of chains because I felt really trapped, like when we were on lockdown. One of the other pieces is a watercolor of a winter scene, and that was just something I did during the Christmas season because I wanted to make Christmas cards for people. Yeah, it was challenging because it was watercolor, but I really enjoyed doing it, and I liked how it turned out. And then the third piece is a pastel painting of a night sky, and I did that piece for an art contest, and the theme was being part of something bigger. I think it was called like Part of Something Bigger, a healing collage. And the idea I got for that painting was that I wanted to paint a big landscape because when I look at landscapes, I feel like the world's a lot bigger than my own personal problems. When I'm creating art, I feel really calm because it forces me to focus on what I'm doing. And also I usually like painting things that are really beautiful and calming, so it's kind of like a mindfulness exercise because it makes you think about the scene a lot. So it helps my anxiety especially. Well, I remember the first Artability show that I participated in. I was brand new at art, and I submitted 5 of my pieces. And I didn't think anyone would buy them, but then they all got sold, and I was so surprised. So that was really encouraging, and it made me want to do more art. The second year I had 3 pieces in the show, and 2 of them got sold. And that was also the year that I won that scholarship, and it was really exciting because then I was able to get art supplies to do art at home. So that was really cool.
I've been involved in Artability for about 5 years. I go and get my space, put all my belongings down, have a seat and sit at the table, and I would exhale, pick up a paintbrush or a pen or a pencil, depending on whatever project we were working on. And it would be an extension to my inner self, to where maybe a whole lot of chaotic things have been going on because of what had been going on in the community at the time. The freedom would come over me and I would create with the paint, and oh my God, it was just so soothing. It was therapy. It was therapy and an opportunity to just be me and create, and I loved it. Being a part of Artability in 2017, the art show, I received the scholarship for the Emerging Artist Award, and that was one of the best highlights of my life. It really, that's when I really accepted that I was a real artist. Like a real one. It wasn't a hobby. I was an artist, and so I'm just so excited to change my life. So I'm just thankful for those 5 years that I've been involved in programming. All my life, art has proven to be a part of my life, a driver, a saver, through my use of art and music, active creative listening and singing and dancing and painting, and now photography all of a sudden. I don't know where that came from. I just take pictures all the time of these beautiful grandchildren of mine. I just realized that I've been gifted with a talent, and I don't want to just keep it to myself because it's so just great. And so I'm glad through Artability I've been able to share. Art has also brought me out of episodes of depression and issues of post-traumatic stress. Art has calmed my mind, my body, my spirit during anxiety and the panic attacks that I've had, and helped me manage chronic pain. My specialty, or my favorite, is writing. Yeah, I just love to write. Very expressive. I'm kind of a shy person, so I'm better with a pencil or a pen in my hand than I am in front of a camera like this. But with visual art, it's like my internal vision, I'm able to bring it out and put it onto the canvas. And it allows me to express what I cannot express using other mediums like communication or words through painting. And a lot of times I do a whole lot of just going over and over. It's layers and layers. Those layers, they add up, and there's character in them. So I just love colors. It just make me feel good. It's just warm. When I took it to the park in my community, and I was able to do a session called Art in the Park, and it was amazing. And we were outside, and a lot of us hadn't been outside because of COVID. A lot of us haven't been outside because of the violence and what have you over here, and the fear of danger. But we were outside at a table in the grass, and it was hot, but it's like the breeze was in just circling us and keeping us cool where we were, and we were safe, and there was no sirens for a while, and it's like we were able to just escape and just actually, exhale. We could breathe, we could exhale and just be without fear and comfort. It was lovely. Recently, I took my grandson on a field trip to a police department, and because he wants to be a police officer. And so we went, and they were super nice. They gave us a tour of the facility, the jail, and then we went to the car, and he didn't get to ride in the car. He was able to sit in the driver's seat. Oh, you should have saw him. He thought he was really the superhero. His superpowers for helping people were coming to life right in front of his little twinkling eyes. And so I was just touched by it, and I took a photo of it because he was in the driver's seat. He wasn't in the back. He wasn't handcuffed. He wasn't being abused. He was being nurtured by the police officers and staff. And with what happened with George Floyd, he was familiar with all that as well, and an unrest in the community. And he still said that he had a dream of being a police officer. And so I kind of like vicariously took on his dream, like, yeah. And so with our community too, you know, it's like keeping hope alive, because we have to stick together through these trying times and just figure out what's best. And so for his dream to come true would be my dream to come true, and the community to be in the world to be a better place to live in. I look forward to it. I'm 62 years old, and it's taken me a while to see myself as a beautiful person. But now I know that I'm a beautiful person because I have things to give to other people that can bring them joy and peace and happiness and hope. And I like it. I like this point in my life. I feel good. I look good. And I am good.
I've been a part of Artability for about 20 years. I have enjoyed the art shows. They've been so exciting. Every year, it challenges me to create new art. It's just something I really look forward to because it boosts such self-confidence and well-being, and I love the people. I've always been the kind of kid that drew outside the lines and then would make my own pictures, and you know, I've never been that one that follows the crowd. I always have my own visions, my own thoughts, my own creative thoughts. Usually they tend to spirituality and stuff. I think getting all that positive reinforcement growing up really helped me become who I am today. And then being a part of Artability, and also meeting other artists and going through their programs and their classes. And you know, it doesn't hurt when you go into the art show and you win a few awards, you know, so all that stuff is just great. I'm kind of eclectic actually in my art abilities. I am a carver, a craftsman. I can pick up any medium and form it into beautiful art, expressive art. And this is actually one of those pieces. It's called I Am, and it's done out of balsa and pastels. I did do a lot of series of feathers that were carved out of balsa, very detailed. I mean, it's like they turned almost like velvet or whatever. You wanted a petal. They look so soft. The pictures that I have behind me are actually pen and ink, pastels, and Sharpie. So Sharpie's kind of a new thing for me. So I wanted the antique look to put into that, and so that's kind of what I did. And I kind of in a moon series kind of art phase right now. So there's 4 of them. There's 2 of these. One is Harvest and one is Blue Moon. And I have the Wolf Moon and I have a Strawberry Moon, which are done the same way. And what I like about them is with the pen and ink in the background, it looks antique-ish. And so it turned out really exceptional, more than what I expected it to turn out to be. I think with the chaoticness of this pandemic and other circumstances that have been going on in this world, my art has really saved me a lot. I usually use this time and I produce some of the most incredible art. These art pictures, the Moon series, has come out of that. It's just a way for me to be able to just drop out of the world for a little bit, recharge, get happy, and come back relaxed. So it's a saving grace for me to be able to create art and be able to do this. I think having depression and post-traumatic stress syndrome and then a traumatic brain injury, I feel sometimes like my life is just slipping away, you know, and my quality of life just seems so down, you know. I get so depressed. And so doing this art and getting these positive responses has really helped me through those dark moments. It helps me feel like I have meaning in my life every time I do a piece of art. And especially when other people see it and they're so love the piece just as much as I do, and they want it. You know what I mean? Not only does Artability, you get to show your art, but people will buy it. And I think that is so, well, I don't have the words for it because it's so huge. That to think that I create a piece of art that somebody's going to hang up on their wall, I think that is incredible.
For over 10 years, Greta McLean, a community muralist and public artist, has traveled the globe creating murals as she explores how art can bring communities together. With a deep commitment to her South Minneapolis community, she has created over 30 murals and 15 community projects in the Twin Cities. Greta shares her story and experiences as an artist, revealing how the power of visual language can activate our voices, leading to advocacy and change.
I'm from South Minneapolis, born and raised in Powderhorn Park neighborhood. And when I was a kid, I was surrounded by all these creatives that were using art to organize community. Think In the Heart of the Beast puppet in Mass Theater, Mayday Parade. I was part of this kind of like a golden age in the public schools where there were all kinds of artist residencies. And from a young age, I knew that I wanted to be an artist of some kind. And I when I was 9 years old, my art teacher invited us to paint a mural on the hallway of our school. I think I did like a zebra maybe. I mean, it was like a safari scene, very much fourth grade. And I stepped back and was like, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Why? Because it wasn't like, look what I made. It was like, look what we made. And it felt way bigger than one person. It was this idea of standing big and owning our space, feeling invited to paint on the actual walls, feeling invited to actually represent ourselves, and getting to be part of a group. So from a young age, I knew I wanted to be a muralist. I think that art in general has that therapeutic capacity. And one thing that it really encourages is resilience. There's this idea of where are there spaces where I am seen and taken care of, and how can art be an indicator of my process? And I think that, you know, it's a very simple act, that of painting walls and painting murals, however, can be profound in inviting people to tell their own stories and to feel heard and feel recognized and feel seen for what they're going through. So I think art's a super powerful, more and more used tool for promoting positive mental health. So how do we use art as like a means of creating change, of promoting healing in our communities? We are experiencing this beautiful and intense and emotional moment as a country, as a planet, of kind of looking again at these issues of social justice and injustice, and places where we have systemic racism and maybe haven't been looking at it and need to start unraveling it. And also, I think as someone who works as an ally in these communities, it's really important to create spaces for these uncomfortable kind of conversations to happen. And it has been just like such an intense and incredible moment of grief and reckoning for our South Minneapolis community. And one of the ways that you know this, if you're not from Minneapolis and you walk on our streets, is the amount of murals that are everywhere. And it is not a clear, one-sided story. It is a story of there are moments of pain, there's moments of anger, there's moments that are very curated and beautiful and filled with hope, and there are other moments that are just pure rage. And you see that. That is not something that I had ever seen when I was growing up, and I think it's such a powerful symbol of how things are shifting, and we are opening, and we are having more spaces for harder conversations, and for inviting our youth into those conversations and saying, hey, where are we going? Let's figure that out together. I'm really grateful to all the communities that I've gotten to work with, and to all the people who have painted with me and have been brave enough or curious enough to be open to letting art change us. I was part of that group that made that George Floyd mural right 3 days after George Floyd's death, after his murder. And I was invited to paint on the corner of 38th and Chicago by Zena Goldman, and in collaboration with Cadex Herrera. And we came together and we painted that mural in one day. And it was a kind of a start to finish process of, here's a sketch on a piece of notebook paper that Cadex had. Zena was like, I'm gonna paint this portrait. And I helped by my mural studio put the paint forward. And we made that mural really fast. And it felt like, it's a beautiful piece. However, it's not for a gallery. It's not like a commissioned piece. You can tell it's not a commissioned piece. It's a piece that was of that moment. It is of us saying, our community feels like it can't breathe. Where are all the places where we can't breathe? And what would it look like if we could breathe? And why is it that we feel like we can't breathe? And that was so powerful to be a part of. And it really was a catalyst, again, I think, for people to notice the importance of our walls, of our visual, our landscapes. One thing that brings me hope is knowing that there is like a long space and time for us to continue to become and evolve, that we haven't landed yet at where we're going. There's a lot of space still for us to become. Another thing that gives me hope is how many people are taking the walls. It gives me hope to see art being activated as a tool for people to come together and process this moment. I also am really inspired and filled with hope by people talking about mental health, by talking about what supports us, and talking about grief and anger and working through our emotions. All of that really is revolutionary and gives me hope. And I think my biggest message is be brave and lean in. I have found that my biggest moments are when I can kind of relax around my ego and get to the other side and just kind of be open to what I am going to make, what I want to make. This is, in my creative process, it's super hard to separate the voice of the other, or how it's going to be received, from my voice and my artistic voice. That's my challenge. And I share that because that might be something that you're also experiencing. But I feel like my real moments of aha and just like that divine kind of like childlike wonder come from digging into what I really want to make and allowing that to be part of the conversation and part of the artistic conversation. So I'm super excited to see what you make. Thank you for what you are making. Not everybody hears that, thank you for being an artist or for going into art and using art. Thank you. It means the world to me to be around other makers and to see people lean into that. And I'm so excited for what we're going to create together.
Thank you for watching People Incorporated Mental Health Services 2021 Artability Art Show Virtual Edition. And thank you to our artists, staff, and Greta for sharing their stories. We hope you've had a chance to learn how our Artability programming plays a vital role in the mental health of our community through the voices of our artists and staff. Visit our Artability webpage for a complete virtual showcase of our 2021 artist art, writing, and music submissions. And it is because of your support that Artability is possible. Give to help us provide our community of artists and our clients with the opportunity to create art and music that leads them on their path to recovery.